Oh, Frieren, my love, you returned to me.
All of the glory, you will be remembered all. Thank you to all of the heroes of the night.
It's sort of hard to really put into words how great it was to really watch Frieren. And I guess you could say it's bittersweet, right? Because it was good, and then it ended. But it ended. Having, if anything, this video would just be like a part 2 to the video I had before. With me not only going over some of the characters again, but also just necessarily talk about all the new stuff that necessarily I loved in this later half of the season. Oh yeah, I'm not gonna go over the story again, so if you wanna, I guess, see some of my other points as well as just the story again, then just go look at my last video. But
oh yeah, also like, comment, subscribe, it helps.
Like I said before, and like I'll say again, Frieren might actually be one of my favorite fantasy animes I've ever seen in my life. With Frieren honestly having so many good things going for it, whether it be the characters, the scenery, and even surprisingly the fights, but the best thing about Frieren is the journey itself. It's something I didn't really go over in my last video like that. Because honestly, what it feels like, it gets overlooked when it comes to the sense of the word journey, right? And that embodies so much things when you say journey. It could mean that you're supposed to go from A to B, but to get to B, you gotta go to C, D, E, F, G, 1, 2, 3 to go back to fucking B. Whether that be your party member gets sick, someone joins your party on the way to the journey and they may have to leave at a later date and time, or just simply helping someone on the way of that journey that you're on. And I really do love how this anime makes it seem like that's extremely important to things, right? It's just like, one, it's important because like you sort of have like a trading system. If you help somebody, they'll help you back. Maybe they'll give you an inn or they'll give you food per se. But my favorite part of this is just the inspiration it is to other people, right? And this comes in this character right here, Verbo. So he's like a second class major. He's like the captain of a corps, right? And by the end of the arc, when everything's said and done, he sort of goes up to Frieren and he sort of expresses for Hyamel to Frieren. And Hyamel is obviously one of the great heroes that he defeated the Demon King with, alongside Frieren, who's obviously 1,000 years old. But the whole point of it is he himself was inspired by Hyamel to basically go ahead and basically be a super powerful mage of this captain corps, right? And the only reason why is because he helped the little people. They didn't just go ahead and defeat the Demon King. They, on the way, they made a journey to help other people along that way. And it just so happened that Hyamel's group, the village that they helped at that certain point in time in the northern lands, was basically his village. It was basically Verbo's village, and they all talked about him. Everyone in Verbo's village talked about Hyamel in their group so highly that it basically influenced him to basically be this mage, to try to defend people, try to help people. And Verbo even says out of his mouth himself, is like, if he didn't help that little people, he never would have inspired me and I would have never even been here in the first place. But wanted to move on to another character that necessarily I didn't get to fully talk about in my last video but I loved him the most, is Stark.
Hey, yo, what the fuck, son? Nah, I'm out of here. What the fuck? Oh, he's wet.
It's literally Stark. I love Stark a lot. Sort of want to branch off of what I said before when I was talking about the afraid aspect and how necessarily he's like a bit of a scary character, at least at first, and then you see how brave and strong necessarily he is and what he technically can become with his potential. But there's something else I want to add on to it. I really love how for his character per se, of like the scared aspect is actually necessarily a good thing, and how it's like a positive spin on it, where usually you don't necessarily see that. You always see when someone gets scared, like, oh, they're scared of cat, or whatever the case may be. But this afraid aspect even goes down to with Stark's master, Sein. With this one, not only telling you like it's okay to be scared, but two, also just showing you how it can really just necessarily be used as a tool and make you necessarily go farther, and necessarily farther not only in the journey, but to limits that you didn't think it was possible at all. Like when when you see him face off against fucking Shishomaru.
Same, but different. But still safe.
Or when you see Stark face off against the dragon as well. And funny enough, what I will say too, it feels like when they do get scared, it's almost like an alarm system popping off in their minds, like, yo, I gotta tighten up, like my body needs to reflect and actually kill whatever's in front of me. But a quick sidetrack from the characters real fast is something I really do love about this show is also the comedy. The comedy just like flat out sometimes comes out of nowhere, or it just smoothly comes into the scene, and it's 9 out of 10 funny almost every fucking time. For example, when Frieren shows Fern the potion that basically dissolves all clothes, and she's like, oh, men would love this potion, and then Fern just uses it on Frieren because it's a dumbass potion. Or the other scene when it comes to Stark and he's in the bed with the guy and he's like looking back and forth, he's like, huh? What the fuck? But the next character I want to talk about out of the main trio would be Fern, right? Now Fern, again, I've already touched upon the fact of like how she's like super understanding at times, but also super judgmental at times as well, and that sort of could be the contradictory statement when it comes to the characters of like Frieren and Stark. But I feel like that gets touched upon when a new party member comes up and sort of mediates when it comes to her being like that, especially when it comes to her and Stark. Sein, and he necessarily feels like the adult of the group for like a short period of time when he is with them for like a good 4 or 5 episodes. episodes, it feels like the adult with these 3 antisocial people and helps them sort of talk out their problems a little bit to a sort of extent, because at the end of the day she still necessarily is like this to them, but like it doesn't feel like she's trying to be different or she's trying to not do it as much when it comes to Fern. And also, I also have to touch upon the fact that like it feels like the Fern and Stark thing, it feels like they're more or less a couple at the end of the day. They have a couples counseling basically with the guy. They also fight a lot like a married couple. They dance together and they just done so much. At this point, they're just like a married couple. And since I already said about him, let me talk about Sein. Sein was like one of the people that came onto the crew for like a good 4 or 5 episodes, because necessarily he was the embodiment of don't have regrets in your life. Do what you need to do what you want to do, because if you have these regrets in your life, it's not only going to hold you back, but it's going to haunt you to the day you die. And not only are you going to be mad at yourself, but other people are going to be mad at you for choosing decisions that necessarily you don't have to do. Because with Sein, he had a friend necessarily called Gorilla, which I'm surprised the name is Gorilla Warrior. That's a weird ass name, but like I said, it's something to be remembered by. But he had a friend named Gorilla Warrior, and necessarily he became an adventurer. He asked Sein to come with him. He told him no, because necessarily he wanted to stay in the village and be a strong priest with his brother. And at the end of the day, it feels like something that eats at him for a long time, or the last few years of like, damn, I really should have went with him. I should have went with my boy or my brother on this adventure. And I think it's a beautiful and great way that he necessarily leaves after 4 or 5 episodes, because he can't necessarily be with the crew that long. He said it himself, he wanted to go ahead and find his friend and be an adventurer with him, even though it's been a few number of years. He necessarily wants to be with that guy himself. So him just staying with the crew will be necessarily another regret, or if he stays too long, he might not want to leave. So it's great to just see him go ahead and not have another regret and necessarily go find out what to do, and to be like, it's not too late to necessarily go ahead with my friend and become an adventurer. And just like I said before, how surprising like the comedy was, the thing that also was surprising was like the beautiful animation inclined with the fights. Oh my goodness gracious, those fights were fuego. And keep in mind, that's not the main point of the show whatsoever, but whenever they came up, the animation budget went to like $10 billion fucking dollars, and it looked amazing. And last, I got to talk about my favorite part of the show, and it's pretty obvious, it's Frieren, right? Now Frieren is just like the best part of the show, because not only do we get the character Frieren, but whenever she like reminisces of things back, we get this sort of prequel style of the things that happened before, and we sort of get into character of like how all the heroes that basically destroyed the Demon King, how they were like, and necessarily how good of a people they were all together. And at the end of it, she always seems happy and has gratitude for what she's had all the way up until this point in her life. I also like how Frieren is like basically like a pseudo adult or pseudo teacher, and the reason I say pseudo, because he sort of acts very childlike as well, just like the people that she has around her, sort of guiding them and helping them, but also at the same time letting them do their own thing and really get their own experience of what they're doing. But going back to the backstories, we'll see backstories of her herself, not just when she was with the heroes, but also her times before that, like her master as well as her master's master, and seeing necessarily everything that led to the point that she's at right now, making it feel like a long overarching beautiful story at the end of the day. But other than that, I want to thank you guys for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next one, and goodbye.